What's good, everybody? Welcome into Prime Time Early Edge, where Week 7 in the National Football League comes to an end tonight in Minnesota. The 49ers, who suffered their first loss a week ago, travel to take on the Vikings, who are just trying to figure out who they are coming off a win over the Bears. Now, both teams missing big-time receivers and talents tonight. Debo out for San Francisco. Justin Jefferson out for the Minnesota Vikings. So you guys know how we do it on a Monday night. I bring in my absolute very best, and we go 6 wide on Primetime Early Edge. Here you go. You know them. You love them. Let's go around the horn. The Counselor Cash is here. Proppy is here. AB is here. EC is here. Thank you for the showdown, EC. And Coach Phil is – why are you putting your head down, EC? That was just my introduction. Nothing personal. Nothing personal. Coach
you know
Phil,
what? I mean, you want to get me riled up already 30 seconds into the show. Justin Herbert had a touchdown in the second quarter. You have a half to throw a touchdown, and you do that? It's embarrassing. Brandon Staley should be fired yesterday, and I'm done.
That was so worth it. That was so worth it. All right, we got to get into it tonight because we do not know what's going to happen. The way San Francisco lost to the Browns, the way the Eagles lost to the Jets, anything is possible. I promise you that. So here are the numbers. San Francisco, and we knew this number was going to go up. It's been right around 6.5 or 7. The official number now is 7 at BetMGM. All the odds here on the early edge provided by BetMGM. So, Coach Phil, I'm coming to you first. Let's start with the 49ers keys to the game tonight.
Yeah, we get the 5-1 49ers getting on the road tonight to play the Vikings, or 2-4. So the first thing, they got to get that Super Bowl hype train back on track. All right, we got to look at that Cleveland performance as a one-off. Is it an aberration, or is it going to become a pattern? Those are the things that we can find out tonight. We ultimately still have the 5th-ranked offense in the NFL and the 3rd-ranked defense. And how does Brock Purdy bounce back? In my opinion, through a balanced attack, creative runs, efficient passes, that's standard Shanahan operating procedure. The second thing I believe that's going to happen is 49ers, they preach getting off the field on 3rd down and taking the football away. All right, one area they could improve on, they're 14th in the league, is getting off the field on 3rd down. Look for Steve Wilkes to get that done tonight. And then as for takeaways, they're number 1 in the league. They got 10 picks and 1 fumble recovery. Considering the health of Trent Williams and Debo Samuel and all these key players on offense, it's going to be paramount that San Francisco 49ers defense shows up big tonight on the road.
Look at those Coach Phil keys to the game. Nick Bosa is pointing right at you. Minnesota. So where's our first bet coming from tonight? Well, EC, because I feel for you, I'm coming to you first, big boy, and I know what you're going to say. I can already hear it. Debo's out tonight, so it's a night for George Kittle. George Kittle's going to go bananas. Is that what you're going to say?
Well, I was going to say that second, Coach. First, I was going to say, I've had a rough go making NFL props lately, so hopefully tonight is the start of a turnaround. We're going to start with George Kittle. And you would think this first bet kind of doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'll explain. George Kittle over TJ Hawkinson receiving yards at plus 120 on MGM. You can do on BetMGM, you can do a little matchup there. So both teams are actually pretty good against the tight end. They've only given up one tight end each over 30 yards receiving in the first 6 weeks. George Kittle has had 4 kind of lousy games of 30 yards or fewer, and TJ Hawkinson has had 50 or more in 4 of 6. So you'd say Hawkinson easy, right? Well, both teams are without their number 1 receivers. So you got to wonder who's going to lean on their other one more. I think it's just a bad matchup for Hawkinson. And the reason I like Kittle tonight is the Vikings are blitzing at a historic pace, almost 58%. Against the Giants earlier in the year, who blitzed the 3rd most, Kittle had 7 catches for 90 yards, and that was with Debo Samuel. He also leads the team in receptions against the blitz this season. So I'm going to roll with that at plus money odds. We're going to go Kittle over TJ Hawkinson and try to get a little creative. And then we're going to add on to it, Coach, and get even more creative with a George Kittle anytime touchdown at plus 155. And let me just explain this, a very quick explanation here. In 3 games last season in which Brock Purdy started and Debo Samuel did not play, George Kittle had a touchdown in each, and he had 2 games with 2 touchdowns. George Kittle will score tonight. George Kittle will get 60-plus yards, and he will exceed TJ Hawkinson's receiving yardage total.
At any point in the last, 90 seconds when you were talking, did you use the term blitz? Did you say the word blitz?
I did. Yes.
Interesting. I thought you might, because guess who's in the chat, ladies and gentlemen? You knew he would be after going 2-0 so far for the morning show today. Buckets is in the chat. He says, quote, as soon as I figure out what a blitz is, the books are in trouble. For all of you who he's beaten in the last 2 weeks in showdowns, UFC, football, embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing for all of you. Danny Brasco, I'm talking to you too. By the way, Amags is in the chat. Any questions for him? Put them in there. He'll answer them in real time. We still have Rangers, Astros to come tonight. Also, he knows himself a little football too. So we got 2 of our crew members in the chat tonight. All right, EC, well done. Next time, don't say it's going to be quick after you talk for 2 minutes. All right. Proppy, let me come to you, because with Debo out and George Kittle apparently tied up in a one-on-one with TJ Hawkinson, is there another player for the 49ers who could have a big night?
Yeah, with all due respect to EC, I do have to correct him here. He said the 49ers' number 1 wide receiver is out for this game. And in years past, that might have been true, but it is not any longer. Brandon Aiyuk has become the engine and the number 1 wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. Gave this out on the morning show, put it out on the site, I believe, 2 days ago. Love him to go over 4.5 receptions. I don't think it's playable, unfortunately, at the current price. I'm comfortable pivoting to his yards here. Brandon Aiyuk has been absolutely phenomenal. The underlying metrics for him are off the charts. He leads all wide receivers in yards per route run, which in my opinion is one of the more effective metrics for determining a player's efficiency. If we look at his air yard share, his target share, it's all elite. He is playing very well. If he was in a different offense, his numbers, in my opinion, would probably rival maybe not Tyreek Hill of the world, but the next tier down. But he's certainly been phenomenal. I think this matchup sets up very well. Without Deebo Samuel on the field, I think he gets an uptick in targets tonight. Minnesota's, the strength of their defense is their run defense. They're more vulnerable in the back end. They've allowed some big plays down the field. So I love his chances to go over 5 receptions, definitely eclipse 73 yards as well. I love Aiyuk in this spot tonight, Coach.
So throughout the day at Sunbooks, it changed to 5.5 with less juice, like minus 105, even money. Would you still play 5.5 too?
I pivot to the yards instead.
Okay. And the yardage is around 70.5, 71, depending on your book as well. Proppy, thank you very much. All right, Coach Phil, coming right back to you. And then, Counselor, you be ready, big boy. I need to go to the Viking side of the ball, because It's one thing to lose Debo. As Proppy said, he's not always just receiving. But Justin Jefferson certainly is. This is a big-time loss. He's on the IR, whatever they call it now. What do you think about the Vikings tonight, Keys?
Yeah, and I think, we talked, EC was leading some Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs along the lines of my first point with Flores. Defenses are known for their pressures. It was getting there. It wasn't a fully formulated thought, but he was close. He was really close to landing that one. But they have tons of blitz schemes that must get home tonight and affect Brock Purdy. There's one thing, when you send pressure and you don't get home, there's some serious consequences in one-on-ones on the back end. The Vikings have sent 5 or more pass rushers 61% of the time this season. They started keeping this statistic in 2007. It's number 1. It's blowing the history of this whole statistic out of the water. They're number 1 by like 5%. So they are blitzing at an all-time record rate. That's going to free up one-on-ones outside. Expect some explosive plays outside. And it's just Herbert. They tried to do it to Herbert. He threw for 400 yards and 3 scores against them by pressuring him like 65, 70% of the time. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So we'll be excited to see how Brock Purdy handles pressure tonight, because he's going to get pressure. The second thing is Minnesota must run the ball. Coach, you just talked about Justin Jefferson being out, and they have to stop with these crazy turnovers. They rank 30th in the NFL in rushing. All right, they have no rushing touchdowns on the year, and they're last in attempts with 113. So when we're talking about Minnesota, they've lost 9 fumbles, they've thrown 4 picks, and it's just been really, I would say, disjointed on offense, to be kind. If the Vikings are looking to pull off an upset of this caliber at home, they must possess the football with great ball security, and they have to be able to run the football.
Last week, 22 carries, 46 yards for the Vikings against the Bears last week. That's embarrassing. But they still won the game 19-13. So, Counselor of Cash, Najad, as I come to you, you like one side of this game as one of your best bets. Let's start with that.
Yeah, and by the way, I totally agree about running the ball. And I'll say this. when San Francisco lost last week, they were run against. Like, you can run against the San Francisco 49ers. So it's not like it's an extremely poor run defense, but I do think that's kind of the path. I think there's a slow plotting path for the Minnesota Vikings to cover this line. And that's my play, Minnesota +7. Listen, one thing you have to understand is when you have a total that's 43 and a half, 44, and you have a 7-point spread for a home team, it's a really good place to be. Even though they're clearly not the name brand here, it is the San Francisco 49ers. And I understand the public sentiment because this is a public play to take San Francisco, but there's so many variables, including the ones I just brought up. You have a low total, you have a 7-point spread, you have a home team. And by the way, the 49ers, not only did they play on the road at Cleveland, but they're playing on the road at Minnesota now too. So that's back-to-back road games for a team who doesn't have its best left tackle, doesn't have one of its most dynamic players in Deebo Samuel. It's just once you start adding these up, you start to ask yourself, well, the Minnesota Vikings are a real football team, even without Justin Jefferson. A lot of these dogs are covering. More dogs covered against the spread than favorites this week, and that happens quite a bit, as everybody in the betting world knows. 7 points is simply too much. Can they get blown out? Yeah, of course. But from a probability standpoint, I'm on the Vikings here because 7 is too much for this team who, by the way, battled the Chiefs just 2 weeks ago. Yes, that was with Justin Jefferson, but this team plays to their level of competition often, and I think they're going to do it again tonight.
All right, very good. So Vikings +7 and Christian McCaffrey under 16.5 rushing attempts -139. We do have some dissension in the ranks, however. My man Amags, I'd love your response to this one, Sia. He says Vikings get rolled, in my opinion. I laddered Kirk to throw 1, 2, and 3 picks just for some fun. What would you say to Amags, counselor?
Well, I understand him being with the rest of the public. I mean, it's a public play. So, I mean, I wouldn't be super proud of being on that play. But is it going to be true? Maybe. Like, Amags, you might be right here. But at the end of the day, just from a betting standpoint, I don't think the 49ers is the play. Are the 49ers going to cover the spread? Again, maybe. But my money's not there. It's on the other way.
Yes, Phil.
If you look at the statistics without Deebo and especially without Trent Williams, this is a very average offensive football team. They're averaging like 3.6 yards a carry without Trent Williams. If there's a case, if you look at the data and you read all the things that we're supposed to read for this, there's a definite case for the Vikings tonight.
Very interesting. Proppy, you have a Vikings lean as well, correct?
Yeah, I would also just add to both Sia and Phil's points. You're getting a 7-point home dog as well, which is historically just a very profitable angle there. So I like Sia's play personally on the Vikings. But yes, I like KJ Osborne potentially, not as an official play, more of a strong lean here. But since Justin Jefferson went down, he's actually run more routes than Jordan Addison. He's a full-time player, has the versatility to play all the different receiver positions as well, lining him up on the slot, over the outside as well. I think Kirk Cousins trusts him. He has a healthy target share. He hasn't been efficient, but at 39.5 receiving yards, that is too low in my opinion. I think he will serve as definitely one of the top targets for Kirk Cousins in a game where he's projected to have 37 pass attempts. So I think 40 yards is 5 to 7 yards too low for KJ Osborne. That's a play I like for sure.
If you think C is right, that's a really good play because KJ would have to be heavily involved if they're going to win this football game. He's a good player.
Look who brought his game tonight, Coach Phil. Just jump in. I may go get a drink. I may go get a drink real quick. But I can't do that because I've got to read this from the chat. AB, I don't even know what your ears are going to hear right now. Anderson says, where is Bucket's no-fly zone? I cannot believe the disrespect. Well, for those of you wondering, he did have his no-fly zone, and he has Kirk Cousins throwing an interception tonight. AB, that would feed right into one of your plays. As always, the favorite part of the show for the fans at home. You and Coach Phil take over. Floor is yours.
Yes, sir. And you know what? I'll give you a couple nuggets here real quick before we throw Kirk Cousins on the screen. He has been an underdog on Monday Night Football 7 times in his career. He is 0-7 straight up. He is 0-7 against the spread. My man isn't even close to being anything worth of betting on. Also, you look at the 49ers, best turnover differential in the NFL. Minnesota Vikings, worst turnover differential in the NFL. And you say, why is that? How could that happen? Well, I'll show you how that can happen. It's not pretty. So we have Kirk Cousins right here. All right. And look, if you are new to the no-fly zone, Let me show you. Top left is the 49ers secondary completion percentage rankings across the NFL. Those low numbers, pretty good. Bottom left, Kirk Cousins, his interception splits this year. 75% of his interceptions thrown have been in the red zone, 50% of them on first down. Top right, Kirk Cousins as a whole. And then you see bottom right, Kirk Cousins' numbers this year. Actually, I got to give Kirk Cousins some credit. His numbers are a lot better than the public probably realizes here. Look, 100.6 passer rating, 67% completion percentage, 1,600 yards, 14 TDs, 4 interceptions. Quite honestly, it's pretty good. Now, here's the problem. The 49ers defense, look at that top right there. You want to throw across the middle? Hell no. These don't do it at all because the Niners will pick you apart and force you to do it. Also, intermediary deep left, intermediary deep right. Trouble zones, especially no Justin Jefferson. Buddy, be careful putting that ball in the air because they will get after you. Now, let's take a look at Brock Purdy here. We had to get a little creative here on our man Brockford because his numbers and his data is just not quite there historically for what, say a veteran like Kirk Cousins has. So what you're seeing in the top right is basically an amalgam of Brock Purdy per game as a quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. That's essentially what it looks like. Now, let's take a look at some of the stats here, bottom left. All right, in the red zone, we said Kirk Cousins, 75% of his picks have been in the red zone. Brock Purdy, complete opposite. The man is legitimately perfect. All 8-0 is his TD-INT ratio in the red zone. Now, the interesting part, 70% of Brock Purdy's touchdown passes this year have been in the first half. 49ers, obviously, they're a quick scoring team, and that's how they get down, and they let their defense beat you down for the rest of the game. But what I want to do is introduce a third slide tonight to further. Oh, yeah, Coach, we're always taking it one step further. And I want to show you exactly how Brock Purdy is having success because you see that grid, and it doesn't really help you with anything. So let me take it one step further. This is the 49ers offense rushing and passing by gap area on the field all season long. So how has Brock Purdy become so successful? It's Kyle Shanahan. Take a look on the left. You see the rushing? Left end, left tackle, left guard, up the middle, right guard, right tackle, right end. What Kyle Shanahan does is run a county fair roller coaster offense on you. And what I mean by that is, welcome to the spin zone. You are going to be lost. He's going to run the ball up the middle, suck your defense in, and look at the top right. Passing game, short left, short right. Brock Purdy will eat you alive the minute you go to the middle. Then the minute you fan back out, right up the middle with Christian McCaffrey. Good luck. He's going to do it to you all night long. So real quick, going back to Kirk Cousins. All right. To the Vikings secondary top left. Look at those numbers. 31, 24, 32. They can't stop a nosebleed. Brock Purdy might go off tonight. Wow. Now, I'll say this real quick. So I just give my pick so we can get out of there and give it to Phil. We can do it real quick here. All right. 49ers-Vikings, both need to score 20-plus points. I think the Vikings have nothing to lose. Go out, score. 49ers, they're going to score as well. Get that at plus 170. 49ers-Vikings over 2.5 turnovers, minus 120, because Vikings can cover this on their own. And the 49ers-Vikings over 3.5 field goals at plus 105, because what Minnesota can do is move the ball down the field. Get in the end zone, a little bit more difficult. And San Francisco, if they're up in that type of game script, they'll kick field goals all night long. They'll take 3, because you're probably not going to catch up. So those are our 3, and I'll stop yapping.
Love him. James says AB needs a laser pointer. I think he does. Your thoughts quickly on what you just saw.
He's right. I mean, I thought there would be no math on this show, but apparently we're in trig, and I just learned a quadratic equation in that third slide. Pretty cool. That's Pythagorean theorem. I'm pretty juiced about all that. But talking about Big Kirko, all right, let's get to his graphic right off the bat. If he's going to throw a pick, he just said real quick, there, Coachman, we're talking about lack of mobility. I mean, this guy's you said go quick. All right. So I'm going to go quickly through this.
I'm frowning at the Coachman part. Sorry. I've never even called that, but go ahead. Sorry.
That's true. I usually only call you that off the air, but the coach. So lack of mobility. This guy looks like EC going to the refrigerator from time to time. There could be an issue.
I wish.
with some of his ability with this pass rush with Bosa and all the guys on the 49ers defense. And again, the secondary could take the football away. So, Kirk can put one on up for grabs today. I'm going to side with AB on this one. And then give me Brock, our man Brock Purdy here. So with the pressure that he's going to see from Flores, you just have to figure out, is he going to get the ball batted? Is it going to be too much to handle without his left tackle? That's the biggest thing for me. We have no left tackle. We got Daniil, the bounty hunter, all right, going out there looking to make some plays. So again, this could, he's been really good. 10 touchdowns, 1 pick, but it can happen tonight with all the pressure that Flores does throw at him.
Hashtag educate and entertain. Do you want to do the work? Got several things to get through quickly. By the way, a couple people in the chat. What's up, EC?
I just want to know what it looks like when I go to the refrigerator, apparently. That's all I want to know.
Just start your calendar instead of your stopwatch.
Yeah. All right, real quick. So people are asking where you find the interception prop at BetMGM. I just opened the app myself. Go to all wagers right inside the game. Go to quarterback props. Then you slide it right over. There's passing yards, passing touchdowns, interceptions thrown. It's that easy. Okay? Now, let me come to you, EC, because Matt Ray in the chat wants a little showdown. He likes Hawkinson tonight. Any interest in Matt Ray and a showdown?
I do like Matt, and I'm up 1-0 in a showdown, but I'm actually going to pass on this one. I do like Kittle, but if the Vikings get behind and have to chuck and duck, at plus 120, I'm not feeling as good. I think the game will be close for a while, and that's why I'm rolling with Kittle, but it's not an airtight lock, or maybe I'm just scared after what happened yesterday when you beat me when I thought I had you in a showdown, #levels.
By the way, you guys like my new early edge shirt? I can't
Love
tell
it.
you.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Nice, right? It's nice.
Can I get one?
Maybe. Sorry, counselor. I'll give you one too. Brand new though, fresh out of the box. Can't tell you where I got it though. But maybe everybody can have one very, very soon. Who knows? Counselor, let me come to you because we talked about George Kittle with EC, but we didn't talk about his numbers. 5.5 tonight, or 4.5 tonight, 47.5. Your thoughts on Kittle as far as production?
Yeah, Kittle makes sense without Aiyuk, but I think the problem I'm having with him is he sometimes just gets phased out of the offense. And I just wonder, in a positive game script, if we do have a scenario, and again, I have to gauge all scenarios, especially when I look at props. If the 49ers defense really steps up and Kirk Cousins is turning the ball over, how much are we actually using George Kittle versus just running the ball with CMC and Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason and short area stuff to Brandon Aiyuk? I think I like his yards a little bit over his receptions, but for me, George Kittle is going to be a stay away until further notice. At least he's going to be a stay away until I can have a game script where I know it's going to be a competitive back and forth. And this one, because the spread is because we have a 7-point spread, it's just too big a margin for me to lean on George Kittle.
It feels like it's a lot of, we don't really know what's going to happen. So you don't want to lean into anything that much. It's just a weird matchup. It just really is. So prop, as I come to you, I'm looking at names last week that Kirk Cousins, and Buckets wrote it with a C in the chat. He threw to Hawkinson, 6 completions, Osborne 4, Jordan Addison 3, then Madison, Powell, Akers rounded out the other 7 or 8. Give me a name of a Minnesota receiver that we can, other than Hawkinson, I guess, play anything on tonight.
Well, I like KJ Osborne. I know I mentioned him earlier, Coach, but yes, he's a lot of versatility there, a lot of familiarity with Kirk Cousins. He's been in the system for years now. Compared to Jordan Addison, who's still figuring out the nuances of the position, he's also thrust into a number 1 wide receiver role, which I don't think he was quite ready for. Playing alongside Justin Jefferson, benefiting from the amount of attention that Jefferson commands, I think was really helpful to Addison. Suddenly getting a lot more double coverage, and it's just going to be difficult for his efficiency, in my opinion. So yeah, I like KJ Osborne. He can play all 3 wide receiver positions. They're moving him around. He's run more routes than any wide receiver on the team since Justin Jefferson went down, and you can get his yards below both TJ Hawkinson and Jordan Addison as well. So yeah, KJ Osborne is my pick. If I had to choose another guy, I actually kind of like Alexander Madison. They're really utilizing him in the short area passing game. They've had so much trouble running the football, but the one saving grace for Madison has been his involvement in the short area passing game. He's getting a lot of targets there. So I think he's potentially worth a look. His combination line, perhaps. He actually mentioned San Francisco's run defense being overrated, and it is. If you look at a lot of the advanced metrics, they rank in the bottom 5 in EPA allowed per rush. So the raw numbers look good, but teams can actually, in fact, run on San Francisco. So I actually think there is a chance that we see, while the game is close, a pretty heavy dose of Alexander Mattison tonight.
All right. Very, very good. By the way, the chat's leaning into, you know how we love storylines here at the early edge. It is National Tight End Day, weekend, whatever. How many tight ends went off yesterday?
I know one that went off yesterday, last night specifically, Coach.
Which one was that?
Oh, it was Dallas Goedert. He scored the first touchdown. I don't know if you recall. Short memory, I guess. Which makes sense. I'd have a short memory too. Can I just add something just so we can offer some content instead of sarcasm? I like everything Proppy said, especially as it relates to Alexander Mattison. But if you're looking for another receiver kind of lower on the radar, Brandon Powell makes some sense here. Now, if you look at his receptions, it's 3.5, which that sounds pretty high. I mean, I'm surprised it's 3.5. I would have thought it would have been 2.5 juice to the over. But then you look at the receptions, and then I always want to look at the yardage. Like, is this really matching up? His yardage is under 30. It's 29.5. To me, that tells me that we're looking at an over here. And Brandon Powell, he had 4 targets last week against Chicago. That was in Chicago. It was kind of a weird game. He caught 3 of them. I could see another 4 targets and another 3 catches, maybe 4. If he gets that, then I think he surpasses the 29.5 receiving yardage total.
All right. Thank you. Phil, go.
So Madison's put the ball on the ground at like a historic rate right now. And if you listen to O'Connell's press conferences, if he puts the ball on the ground one more time, he's probably done. So we had a lot of conversation about what's going on with Bijan. He got sick, right? So this is one of those unforeseen but maybe seen situations that you can look into the future and say, this guy's fumbled the ball a lot. His carries could go to 0 if it happens again tonight.
Great nugget, Phil. Great nugget. By the way, the NFL announced
Coach,
today,
Coach, this is really important. That's why I have to interrupt, because one thing we don't touch on enough is probably live betting props. If Coach Phil is absolutely right. If Madison fumbles, it's Cam Akers time. Immediately when you see that fumble, don't wait for it to break to commercial. Go and bet Cam Akers props, specifically rushing or rushing and receiving. Those are the kinds of things you can anticipate, because we pretty much know what's going to happen if Madison puts the ball on the turf.
I mean, O'Connell said it.
Let it sink in for a second. It's great nuggets. Somebody in the chat said they feel like they're going to school, only this is betting school. This is what it's all about. It's not just hammering picks all the time, although they are clearly important, but it's about the information. Listen to my guys. Now, EC, for some reason, I guess maybe because he got knocked out last week, but right now, you could argue that Christian McCaffrey is the league MVP. We have yet to say his name really on this show. His numbers are 3.5, 26.5. His rushing number is 63.5. How much do you think they'll utilize McCaffrey tonight based off the injury?
Well, I actually like the counselor's bet there, Coach. I think the under 16.5 rushing attempts is the way that I would go. Now, okay. McCaffrey to get a touchdown, how many games in a row has he scored in? It's like some ungodly number. But 15. I will say this.
It's 15.
50. I mean, that's crazy to think about. So if you want to bet the minus 180 or whatever it is to get a touchdown, by all means, I do like Sia's under 16.5. You know, he could break off a long run or not, but I'm staying away from McCaffrey. I know it's probably not the answer you want, but I just don't know if they're going to mix in Jordan Mason and Elijah Mitchell more so. With that said, I'm just staying away from C-Mac props, if not taking maybe a few unders.
Who agrees with EC?
I do. I think it'd have him on the pitch count with the carries.
Interesting.
My only thing is this. We hear that every week, and every week Christian McCaffrey has 100% of their run. Like, I mean, they just don't do it.
Yeah, and the last time they did that, you know, look at where he ended up. Right, he had 400 something.
No, it's true.
He played for 18 months. So you got.
Have you ever had an oblique injury? I mean, what does that feel like for a football player? We know it for baseball and a pitcher. It's more of a common injury. What does it do with a ball carrier?
The ball's off your frame, so it's all your torque, and it's going to kill to get hit in the ribs. I mean, he's a freak of nature. He's probably just got, you know, his 8th ab might be slightly tweaked and he's fine. But, you know, for you, you'd have to have an oblique first. But second of all, like, I thought you teed me up for that one. That was pretty easy, to be honest with you. But I mean, he's going to go. He's going to get less than 16 carries, I think. I mean, that's being smart.
You two need to have a show. I can tell you that right freaking now. You two need to have a show. AB, let me come over to you. You're kind of the team total quarterback whisperer for us. And we've talked about Purdy. I can't remember. Somebody on social media from SportsLine today, or maybe on HQ, they like Purdy to go over 235.5. And wasn't it UEC that you think that Brock could have a big night tonight, or was it you, AB?
It was me. It was me, and I'll tell you exactly why. Because, the graphics that we showed specifically in regards to the 49ers offense, Kyle Shanahan essentially is live betting in games, except it's play calling. He's looking at you saying, all right, where are you going? Oh, you're gonna go to the left, McCaffrey up the middle. I'm gonna keep you honest. And the minute that you do that, Brock Purdy just starts cutting you up. And the dude's aggressive and he wants to do it, man. He'll just death by 1,000 cuts. So yeah, like if the 49ers have just a above average run game tonight, Brock Purdy can light their tails up. Let me just say that 100%. And he won't stop either. The man is aggressive for sure.
All right, so we like the over there, 235.5. Now, see, let me come back to you, because if we're talking about Kirk Cousins, and then I got one for you, Proppy. If they're playing from here, this is a very, very elite defense, but Kirk Cousins usually figures out a way. But last week against the Bears, he only managed 181 yards in the air against the Bears. So under tonight, yes.
Yeah, for me, it's a stay away. I mean, I would probably lean toward the under, but it's not for that reason necessarily in terms of last week, because I just think the game plan playing the Bears was a little different than what you're probably going to have with the 49ers. With all of that said, we do think the running game is like, if Minnesota is going to be successful in this game, they're going to have to run the ball, which to me means potentially some longer sustained drives. I'd probably be looking at Kirk Cousins' completions over his yards, although I think those two are kind of the same in this particular context. But for me, I'm looking at a lot of unders on this game in general. So I would actually be on Kirk Cousins unders, but that's not because I think he's going to have a bad game. It's just because I think the game plan is going to be centered around the run and the short area passing.
All right, very, very good. Everybody good, because we're 4 past the hour. That's how good this discussion has been. We got to get to the fun portion of the program. If you're brand new in the chat, this is where we pick the first touchdown of the game. It's very, very serious until it isn't. Now, this kills me. Absolutely kills me. But last night, sure enough, Jalen Hurts running around, looking for a tight end to score the first touchdown. And Sia Najah, show the graphic, AB, show the graphic, now has, count them, 1, 2, 3 little gems next to his name. It makes EC and Coach Phil look very, very, very out of place. Hey, I'm just the messenger. Sia, you now have the ability to say whatever you want. You have more than the rest of us. All we can do is sit here and take it. Floor is yours.
Well, listen, heads up to AB. If you, after tonight, if you lower my font from what looks to be 14 to 12 and go Times New Roman on it, you're going to be able to fit that 4th gem in. Speaking of AB, it's his birthday. Everybody in the chat that doesn't already know that, shame on you. You should know that from watching the morning show, but it's his birthday. So what am I going to do on AB's birthday in honor of Alan Bell, dial-up? I'm going with the volunteer, Jawan Jennings, 7th round pick in the 2020 draft. I believe he was like number 217 overall. Like, this is a guy that's actually really kind of made a name for himself considering where he got drafted. With no Debo, I'm not going to pretend that Jennings is taking the Debo role, but he's certainly taking some targets, especially if this ends up being a back and forth game. I think Jennings is pretty talented. And I think when you're looking at Brandon Aiyuk, of course, like, he's the guy, George Kittle, he's the guy. But if you're looking for a third pass catcher outside of CMC, I think it's Jennings, which is why I think plus 2,500 is a pretty decent number. He's your first touchdown scorer.
And look at all you good people in the chat. While you're doing that, hit the like button for me, because we're getting ready to take some stuff away from you. You guys are getting very, very lazy. We do way too much for you. See ya, well done. Still grinds me. All right, Proppy, you've got 2, and you got 2 first, which means you get to go next. Who do you like?
Yeah, I like TJ Hawkinson. We've been talking about National Tight End Day. TJ Hawkinson leads the team in red zone targets without Justin Jefferson. I think he actually had more red zone targets when even Jefferson was healthy as well. So certainly getting leaned on once they get down into that area. I just think he's in a good spot tonight. He's going to be a funnel of a lot of targets. So give me TJ Hawkinson.
All right. I hope that is not that I ever want to see EC lose a bet, because that would be completely against being a team player. But if it happened tonight, it happens. You know what I mean? No reaction from EC. He's laser focused on the gym. All right, AB, you've got 2, and you like this very talented rookie tonight. Talk to me.
Yeah, we're going to go with Addison because, look, I think the Minnesota Vikings, as much as they tell themselves internally that they want to run the football, nah, man, O'Connell, Cousins, they're going to chuck it up. They're going to do it early. They might even do it on first down. They tend to throw and be aggressive on first down. So I'm going to go with his best player here, Addison, plus 1,400. Drop that in. Also, quick nugget real quick. Juwan Jennings coming out of high school. Last year, you saw the quarterback room for the 49ers. All right. You had Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, CJ Beathard. Juwan Jennings was a higher quarterback recruit than all of them. This man could do everything on the field. 4-star QB coming out. Blackman High School. If you like David Price, used to pitch for the Boston Red Sox, same high school.
You said one nugget. That was like a 6-piece. Give it to me. Let's go.
Andy Reid over here with them nuggets.
Well, I played against Blackman High School in every sport, and they beat the hell out of me in every sport. They're good. So there you go.
We can tell.
That is
Shots.
You are
That was
savage.
good. That was good.
Alex says, this is my favorite show. Fire emojis. Alex, thank you very much. Thank you for taking the time. Now, I'll make mine very quick. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to hand off from like the 6 or 5 to Christian McCaffrey, then pull the ball right back. Everybody's going to run with him. He's going to look at Juwan Jennings and say, see ya. Not going to happen a 4th time. And then it's going to be wide open, straight up the middle for Brock Purdy to use his legs, flip it to an offensive lineman to spike the football, and I get my second gym. If that happens, I'm not showing up tomorrow morning because I just told you how the first touchdown is going to be scored. Now, the 4 of us who are already in the club, it's really nice inside. They've redone the interior. The drinks are amazing. And now look at the 2 that aren't. And look how chalky. I mean, if you're not using if you're not using cocoa butter right now, it's how chalky you are. I mean, that's just embarrassing. It just happened to be on my desk. So who gets to go first tonight? See, I'm going to let you choose. You're the 3-time champ. Who goes first, EC or Coach Phil?
Well, I feel bad because EC's taking a lot of shots here, so I'm gonna let EC go first. I'm gonna make Phil go last here.
Smart.
Okay.
Thank you, counselor. Let me say this. I'm not on the Sunday night preview shows. So that means Phil's gotten 7 more chances to get in the club than I have. I am 0 for 15 on games. Phil is 0 for 22 for those of you keeping score at home. Now, I also am a hypocrite, so let me just own this right now. I said I would not take the chalk, but I waited until 4 of you made their picks. And then I saw what was left, and it wasn't good. It was before you, Coach, so I got to give you credit for the Purdy pick.
Thank you.
I had to go with Alexander Madison. I know he doesn't have a rushing touchdown this year. He has 2 receiving touchdowns. This is great value for a starting running back, assuming he waits to fumble until after he scores the first touchdown. So let's go Alexander Madison, painfully, very chalkily. I don't even know if that's a word, at plus 1,000.
Wenzel said Coach called you all ashy. You're damn right I did.
Ashy Larry, son. Ashy Larry.
All right, Coach Phil.
Man,
At least when Phil sent his in today, he actually sent a picture of a bunch of chalk. Swear to God, can't make it up.
Yeah.
Phil, talk to me.
I learned some graphics editing from AB over the last 6 weeks. So, how we work around here. We get to who I picked in a moment, but I've been digging a little deeper, Jonathan. I've been digging deeper into this, and I thought about this. I used to live a real rough renegade lifestyle, and the thought of going into a club now, being responsible and mature, and just tied down Christian that I am, I'm not going to come to the club. So I've intentionally, I guess maybe just not involve myself in this club thing. So again, you guys can enjoy yourself with your debauchery and your hedonistic ways, but I'm going to stay out of the club with Jordan Mason, the 3rd tailback for the San Francisco 49ers.
What is wrong with you? What did you just do? You completely discounted all the fun we have every single primetime show.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
Ah, here it comes. Here it comes.
It bothers me.
Here it comes. Let's go.
And I can't stand it anymore. We got to get in tonight.
Oh, it's pouring out. Just let it come out. Just let it come out. Oh,
all right.
Feel it. Oh, I feel it. See,
and EC burned me with those 7 extra picks I got too. That really was a good one. You got my butt.
That was a good one.
Ooh.
That was a really good one, EC. All
nice
right, it is 8:12. The game starts in 3 minutes. We got to be very, very quick. We're not going to go through our best bets. They are right there. If you haven't made them, you have them there. Let's go around and tell me the number one thing and let those bets sit there. Counselor, start us off.
The number one thing is that Jordan Mason first touchdown is actually plus 1,600, plus 2,200. So unfortunately, Phil, you didn't actually make the chalky pick. So all the better if it ends up hitting. I'm interested to see if the Vikings can push back against the San Francisco 49ers. We've seen in the NFL that these bottom feeder teams or alleged bottom feeder teams, they can win on any given, in this case, Monday. And it wouldn't shock me if the Vikings push back. Otherwise, we're going to see San Francisco really put their stamp on the game, which they typically do.
Proppy. Oh!
Sorry. I'm personally from the camp that I think Kirk Cousins is criminally underrated. I know he gets a lot of flack. He's not performed well in prime time, but I think the team around him is really lacking. The offensive line as well, and the defense isn't particularly good either. So, I think Kirk Cousins can potentially dispel the narrative, at least for 1 week tonight in a tough matchup. I'm excited to see him play.
All right. So I actually went too. AB, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I think the Vikings, the only way that they can win is by taking the 49ers game plan out of their hands and stealing it. Score first, score early, score touchdowns, first quarter, second quarter, force San Francisco with those injuries to play from behind. If you do that, you have a great shot. If San Francisco's up 14-0, good luck, man.
Yeah.
I love that advice. EC, talk to me.
If there's anyone colder than Phil's gym picks and mine, I guess, it's that my NFL props picks. So do what you want with these Kittle plays tonight. And finally, because I wasn't able to say it earlier, happy birthday, AB.
That's nice. Coach Phil, bring us home.
Yeah, I think we get to find out who Brock Purdy really is tonight. I mean, he doesn't have a number of weapons. He's missing his left tackle. He's going against a defense, that's going to pressure him. So for me, it's a good litmus test to see if he can bounce back after his first loss.
Take all that in. Take all of it in, use it for tonight or into the future. I want you all to enjoy it. Did you guys notice my brand new Early Edge t-shirt? Yeah, there it is. Now, pay it forward. Be kind to one another. Remember, this can be fun. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. It's really, really hard. But if you do it with us, we'll do it together. All right? So with all that being said, so much could happen tonight. Can EC get in the club? Can Coach Phil finally get in the club? We'll see a catch for a fourth time. How about AB prop? I mean, so many storylines just within the crew. That's why it's time for us to go watch. And by the way, congratulations to the Diamondbacks. We will have a Game 7 tomorrow night, which as a show we absolutely love. So with all that being said, there's only one thing left to do. And I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all these Monday night tickets straight to the pay window. You guys are too much. My entire crew, love them all. Counselor, Proppy, AB, EC, Coach Phil, Snake, always lurking somewhere, making the show look like $1 million. We grind for you so we can win with you. It's truly what we're all about right here. Even at prime time, Early Edge. Good luck tonight.